Hey, I want to say hello to Sabet, man. It was so epic meeting you. I just remember the space we were in pre-decon and Lori space, the Queen space, and you said that you would be there just signing and drawing for people till as long as it takes and for hours and hours. And I remember telling you, no, man, this whole thing is just to have some fun. But I was just blown away, Sarah, just blown away with how you connected with each and every person at the party. And you gave almost everybody who came to you like a piece of art and you flipped it over and sketched for them behind. The number of sketches you did, forget signatures and stuff. Welcome, welcome. I'm just blown away,
Hey,
brother.
good to see you guys. Thank you so much for having us. That was a beautiful party, meeting you, Silicone, VeVe Magic, everybody. It was just incredible. And I got to meet some of my friends who have never met here before, like Brian Morris. That was awesome. And uh, NFT Champion. So many people there that I got to connect with. And then again, connect with you guys the next day. I don't think I saw you, Sanjay, at the designer con, but I was roaming around and doing the same thing there too. But it was
Yeah.
wonderful. It
Yeah,
was really
man. Designer Con, I was with Brian, just walking, roaming the hallways. We didn't get to meet there, but man, it's such an amazing experience, man. You just, and what you did with Silicon, man, I'm just telling you, man, the 15 minutes you spent with him,
Oh yeah.
and
No, I was telling people, Sabet, about our energy session and how your intuition was spot on, and we had a conversation, and just how surreal that was, and just the pure love I felt from you, and I appreciate you, man. I really.
I'm glad. How are you feeling?
I got COVID, man. So
Oh,
hopefully you didn't. I think I knew where from the karaoke night, so it was after we hung out.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So I'm feeling like shit, but like it is what it is.
Well, I'll send you an activation for that too. My dad just got it after 3 years of not getting it. He just got it a few days ago,
Oh man.
and we just sent him over. I'll send you the juices that we were doing. There's these juices and these little shots that all the stores have that saved me, and he just went and he was better in like 2 days. So I'll send you the link to those or whatever they're called.
Oh,
And
that's
of
great.
course, I hope you're doing your zinc and vitamin D.
Yeah, I'm doing everything I can. I'm locked in a room right now. My kid calling to get in and say hi to dad, but I want to keep them quarantined from me. So
Yeah, it's no
hey,
problem. I'll send you some love.
thank you.
hey, we have
You're
Frank join us
awesome,
as
dude.
well. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Hey, by the way, I just want to say Frank's joined us as well. Frank, I don't know if you're a space where you want to, you're able to chat. Just, feel free to come up. Let us know if you can chat. It'd be great to have you as well, Frank. How cool is that, man? How cool is that? Um,
Let's
go
go
ahead, Sabet.
to do you mind if we go to a couple of questions real quick, Sanjay?
Your space, man. Yeah, let's do
Well,
it.
not really, but Dave just joined us at the same time as Sabet. What's going on, Dave? NFL champion.
What's up? What's up?
What's
Ali,
up?
what's going on? Silicon, what's good? I hope you feel better, my brother. Sanjay, what's up? Magic, what's good? Prop on my way. How we doing? Silicon, let me tell you something. Whatever Ali sends you, do it. Because, I thought, I was like, what is this crazy nonsense he's doing? Bro, my ankle was the size of a fucking golf ball when I was walking around. Like, I had, literally, the size of, I'm not even a golf ball. I'm saying, sorry, a grapefruit.
That
And
was
he's
scary.
Yo, I'm not kidding. Ali, I'm gonna send you a picture of my ankle right now. You're not gonna fucking believe it, bro. I'm not even no joke. Like he sends you this stuff, and whether you want to believe it or not, he puts you in the right frame of mind, and it's good shit. It's like feel good stuff. You know what I mean? So
Let's go.
whatever you advise is go for it, bro.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, it was dope. But Santi, the one thing I did want to touch on, what you guys were just talking about, what you were just talking about with Akil, right? The whole NASA and K-pop thing. So NASA, so you guys know I'm obviously big in the ENS community, right? NASA has purchased the quad rocket emojis from someone within the community. So like like those like the emojis, right, for the rocket ships, they actually purchased 4 of them. So I know that NASA is super active in terms of like their social media presence and obviously things that they're doing. I don't know if there's any link there, but I thought that was just super relevant. And the other thing was on the K-pop side, the BTS is actually going on. I know this because I own a K-pop like ENS domain. They're actually going to be on like hiatus for a little while, for a couple of years. So this would be the perfect time for VeVe, right, to start like dropping like any sort of like big musical album, and specifically with them, because when you're not on, like when they're kind of disbanding in a way, this is the way to kind of like generate that revenue. So their management team is super smart if this is what it is. But yeah, I thought it was just super coincidental that you guys said this stuff just now, man. That's crazy. But good
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
You're saying
amazing.
I can mix K-pop with Frank Kozik's Labbits. Let's go.
Let's go.
And
Hey,
some
Frank.
Sabet on the wall.
Hey, I have silicone. I have the last video. Yeah, I just sent it to you. So it's not pretty though, and I sent it muted because I'm cursing through the whole thing. You get the back of David's back and behind us. I was
Is
just holding on
that
for
when
dear
you
life.
almost fall out of the log ride? So
Yeah.
so this is what you gotta do. You gotta tweet it out on my respond out
Okay.
to the tweet chain we've got and say angle number, I think it's 7 or something.
Okay.
And just keep that going.
Okay, it's FA David's back. It's
Yeah, there
awesome.
you go.
All right, but I'll give you guys a clue. And if no one's following, if you're not following VeVe Meister, you gotta follow him on YouTube. He's the nicest guy. Spent we roomed together. I took him to Disneyland, and he is a 6'6", 250 kid. We rolled up to Disneyland, and he was like, "Oh, you guys, I feel excited. I feel like a kid right now." So it was super awesome seeing Disneyland through his eyes, because there's nothing like that from where he's from. So he's just a 250-pound kid. I tried to take him down, it didn't work, but I tried. But he's a 250-pound kid. All right, I'm gonna step down. I'm gonna try
Hope
posting
you
that
guys
after.
had fun.
Yeah. Thank you, VeVe
Looking forward
Magic,
to
for
seeing that
setting that all
angle.
up.
And leave the audio on.
It might get flagged. There's lots of cursing.
Nobody flag his audio.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Oh, I'll leave it on.
That's funny.
Yeah, so Frank, I heard you were chatting with Magic and chatting with Mr. MC1. I mean, what was cool about this DCon is we had access to these artists that we love. Like, thank you for signing my shirt, by the way. And I got to spend time with Sabet. It was just like this quality experience. Is that like every DCon? Or is this something like, what's your take on this?
Yeah, man. Like DCon's been awesome for a decade. Comic Con used to be really great, but kind of like all the cool people got priced out by the big companies, and so DCon has become the replacement. And so, like the DCon world you experience, that's the world that I've been swimming around in since about 2000, with the designer toys and the silk screen prints and stuff. I was in the music business for the previous 20, and this kind of scene is way more interesting because it's a much wider spread of people, sort of more interesting groupings of people. You get to meet like creators and manufacturers from all over the world. I mean, if you went to the event, you saw the energy and kind of like, you go to Comic Con, everyone spends the money on the displays and the booths, right? Because it's basically just a big checkout aisle these days. But you go to DCon, the booths look shabby, but if you look at the work, all the money and the energy is in the work, and that's what we're really there for. So welcome to DCon. Everyone should go again next year. It's the coolest thing on the planet.
Yeah, no, it's on my list now for a long time coming because, it's for me, it's about the experience. VeVe's been about this social experiment and this experience that helped me through COVID, and helped me through, when I say through COVID, I mean, locked in my house COVID, right? And, it's really been a community that we built, and just to connect that with real life, and then, just chill and hang out with you guys.
I mean, I have friends that I've known for 25 years, and this is where we hang out because we live all scattered all over the world. So these kind of like toy, I mean, before COVID, it was great. There were cons in China that were getting really great. And this year, some of the Chinese makers showed up for the first time. So that was awesome to see them outside of their bubble, right? There was conventions in Singapore every year that were really good. There's the ones in Europe. Um, you know, uh, there was talk of Dubai at one point. I don't know what's happened with that. So the kind of the toy conventions, people are like, oh, it's designer toys. That sounds junky, but there's like a lot more. And kind of like the next couple of generations of emerging creative IP, because a lot of the people that are the small creators, they have a second life where they work for major motion picture studios and they're high-end animators and high-end designers in the industry, right? So it's kind of like, and they go to DCon to let their hair down. So, Scott Tolleson is a 25-year veteran Imagineer at Disney, but he shows up and he releases his cool shit and we hang out, so it's like a DCon, great culture has always been, it used to be societally, but now it's kind of like society's a bit different. Intersection of high and lows where great energy and new art forms emerge. So if you look at any movement, Dada or punk or 18th century, 19th century French playwrights. It's always the intersection of like different levels of society in a space on a regular basis. And kind of like for what I'm interested in, DCon is the thing. It's all there. I mean, there's not a lot of writing there, okay, but who knows, right? But for the visual arts, the plastic arts, the graphic arts, fetishism of collecting objects, DCon is the jam, man.
Yeah. And now we're merging the digital to the physical. And VeVe's right there. Excuse my voice. I ended up getting COVID, by the way, at karaoke night.
See, people were looking at me funny because I was wearing my mask most of the time. Now, see,
yeah,
you go.
Exactly. No. I knew you were playing it safe. And I remember last year you said you weren't going to go because of the COVID exposure as well. You and Jermaine weren't going to go. But yeah, I mean, it's quite the experience to see this digital connection. And, what resonates, what I keep hearing in my head is you on that stage saying, VeVe helps me be more creative, right? And I just want to understand that more. What does that mean? So does that mean that you're not afraid to make a mistake? Does that mean that you can just...
No, it's like, okay, so pretty much my entire personal career, I've worked by myself. So anything that I've ever manufactured outside of, say, working with Kid Robot or whoever, or a major music label, is something that I either I drew it, I painted it, I sculpted it, I cast the resin in my own studio. I had my own silkscreen print shop for years. So, and that's limiting because I only have a certain level of physical ability and a certain amount of time. The new tools, to me, what's going on with Web3, we'll call it Web3 for lack of a better term, is no different than Web2, which is no different than the advent of computers. I was there, when I started doing artwork, I worked in an offset printing establishment for my uncle in Europe, set type, put it in a 100-year-old machine. People think that's romantic now. It sucked. So I love new technology. So every time new technology happens, it leverages my ability. I jumped feet first into using computers to do art, in like the late 80s, early 90s. I had a whole set of peers that refused to do it. Well, their careers evaporated. I could leverage my ability. So I could outperform teams of people with the technology. So I'm a big enthusiast of technology, and I try not to let the technology, I mean, it does influence your work, but to me, it's just okay, I just got a really big pencil, right? And so now Web3, and I'm starting to get real fascinated with AI programs to do reference for drawings and stuff. So to me, I've always considered these new levels of technology a gigantic opportunity to further my reach and still just be sitting in my studio in my home. So now, instead of having to have a building and a print shop full of expensive equipment and tons of employees and all the stuff I had to do over the years to make my work happen, because I like doing commercial work. I like my stuff to be out there in multiples. It's like a thing I have. I love watching stuff print out. Using digital tools and the NFT verse and the VeVe verse and the Web3 verse, it's just okay, now, Labit, a lot of people have known about Labit for years, but when VeVe happened, a whole lot of people learned about Labit, right? So for me, the technology is my friend. I'm not scared of it. I love it. I try to understand it as much as I can. If something's beyond my time or ability to learn, like ZBrush for digital sculpting, well, then I'll just hire people that are cool and like work with them to make it happen. My hands get longer, my reach gets longer. Um, my silly, dumb, cartoony stuff that I like to do gets out there in interesting ways. And what's really nice about like the digital thing is like, okay, I can't make a Labbit toy that flies around and shoots missiles, but at some point there's going to be one on VeVe that'll fly around the VeVe-verse and shoot rockets at the other collectibles, right? People are already starting to do that in a real primitive way, you know, gimmicking the animations and like making them do novel things. That's all super interesting to me because like I could never sit down and make an animated Labbit that shoots rockets. I mean, I could, but it would take me years, and like, what would I do with it, right? So what
Yeah.
this does is just like, it just makes my stuff like really out of sight, man. Like for me, like it makes me real happy because it's. I also like to let people fuck with my shit. So something like the Labbit, you know, I always have encouraged people to do custom toys and stuff, right? So now there's going to be kind of like unlimited potential for people to do weird shit with my assets. And like, you know, at some point in the cycle, I'm getting paid my fair share. So I'm super happy about that too. Right. Because people have always ripped me off and done stuff, you know, online with my stuff. And I had no way of getting paid. Now, at least it's going through a filter where I get paid. So to me, it's all upside. I don't see a dark downside. Then again, you know, I'm not a huge risky speculator. But you know, if you play that game, you know, you're going to win, you're going to lose. You can't blame anybody. The market goes up and down. But I think as far for a creative person, being able to expand the reach of what they want to do with their creation, I think, you know, what's going on now is fantastic. Because I was sort of sitting around a couple of years ago going, okay, what's next, right? Boom, it happened. I'm fucking stoked. I wish I was younger so I could take advantage of it longer.
Hey, Frank.
You're doing a great job. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I know you mentioned AI. I'm curious, right? Because like I'm starting to kind of play around with this. Also, like not so much from the art perspective. Obviously, it's the like content creation, but like, what are some of the different? If you don't mind sharing, like some of the different programs. Because I've played around with like Dolly and Dolly 2 and
I
some
mean,
of these others, and it's just so fucking cool.
Right. I mean, you know, I bumbled into this thing called Jasper and kind of like whatever. I'm not super happy with it. Then I have a friend who's a really great sculptor, Scott Wettershire, and he's been raging on Instagram. Like he figured out, so he's on something called Midjourney Volume 4. The problem is you have to go on a Discord server. Man, I fucking hate Discord. But
Oh
I'm
my
seeing
God.
I'm seeing what he's doing with the Midjourney AI, and it's fucking astounding because apparently not only can you put in all the keywords, but you can do stuff like, okay, like f-stops, like you can create camera effects and lighting effects. So you can light it like your favorite, like, you know, a certain era of cinematography. And then you can have the scene portrayed in a variety of like f-stop lenses and stuff, right? So he's getting pieces that look real. They look like they might have been in some insane, he's really into like 70s Italian movies, like crazy 70s Italian sci-fi movies that never existed, right? And they're astounding. So for me, I would never use the AI to do a final, like, you know, public release piece, right? But for something like figuring out, because I'm a collage artist at heart, so for figuring out like a design, right, that I want to do in 2D or 3D format later, saves a whole lot of sketching because I can kind of get right down to the nuggets right away. You know, so for me, I see it as an invaluable tool for like reference for stuff I want to create. Because you know, I've always thought like, oh, I would like to be able to paint this in this style in this setting, but I don't have the skills to do it. Now you do, right? So again, I consider it a means, not an ends. Like the AI is going to be like a really, really good sketchbook for me.
Yeah,
That's amazing, Frank.
That's my approach.
Makes sense, Frank. That's amazing. And then Sabet, how about yourself? Have you toyed around with some AI and stuff as well as you've kind of done this? And I know Brian Morris is listening. Brian, I mean, I know you do a lot of glass, you know, digital stuff as well. It'd be great to get your take as well, if you can come on, Brian. Go ahead, Sabet.
Hey, yeah, I mean, everything you see from, 10 years ago was all AI. I'm no, I'm just kidding. I've never, I hadn't touched it till just recently. I did get into the Discord and I started messing with Midjourney when my friend started to show me things. with the Iran thing happening over there and me wanting to express some of the emotions that I couldn't possibly express, like, burning of their scarves and things like that, the flag and all that stuff. I mean, there's things that I couldn't paint, so I wanted to express myself. So I used that. But just like Kozik said, hi, Frank. It's been a long time, bro. I missed you at DCon. But yeah,
I think I saw you sitting in the hotel lobby, but like it was crowded, and I don't know. I blew off a person.
it's all good. But I'm sure I'll see you soon. No, but I use it as reference too. There's things that I want to draw that I don't know how to draw, or I want to see what an elephant looks like with wings, flying through clouds, and I want to draw that. And if I can't, I'll ask Midjourney to draw me a few concepts, and then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll know how to make it my own, or use it as a reference as well. So I haven't really, actually, I have released a few things. When I started the Kiku project, the Kiku collaboration, Open Collabs, I started doing the backgrounds with Kiku for myself, just testing it out. And that's how the idea of like doing the collaboration started. Was I just wrote Kiku's world, and the AI rendered these beautiful, scenic, ethereal spaces that I put Kiku in, and I'm like, wow, if I can do this, anybody else can. So why don't I open up Kiku to the world? And that's when you saw a lot of even my collectors started to join the collaboration and mint and sell, and it was very freeing, and it didn't feel like they were cheating, because that there was art to be had in the front, and then there was the background, which it takes a lot. I mean, I have friends who are creating some magnificent things with AI right now that I don't even know what kind of words they're using, because the stuff that's coming out is magic. So, anyways, I think there's a case for it for every single person. I don't see it as a threat. I think it's a tool, and if it frees anybody else to be able to create, let it be.
Hey, that's great, man. Hey, Dave, just one second. We've got Brian come up as well. Brian, you and Frank know each other as well, correct?
Oh yeah, I think we met almost 20 years ago at Roto Fuji in Chicago.
Very cool. Hey, can you talk a little bit about the
Yeah,
AI
like I
that you're
said, man,
using?
DCon's been bringing this together for decades.
It's incredible. I got to see the long line of folks waiting for Frank's shirt, and got to see him spend a few seconds with everybody. But I think a couple hours before that, he and I got to spend over an hour sitting there shooting the shit on a park bench, and it was amazing. Sharing a coffee or just shooting the shit for a while is something you don't get to do every day. And it's meetings like that's the whole reason I went out there. I didn't sell anything. I didn't try to promote anything. I wanted to connect with people, and that was just a really special moment. So I appreciate it, Frank.
Hey, dude, the stuff I've seen you like get into in the last couple of years has been pretty astounding. It's like, goes to prove that it's all technology. Back in the 70s and 80s, the older artists I know, they could never make a leap like you did with the glass pieces, and like, you went from the two, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you taught yourself an entire like new level of shit only because the technology became available, right? It's good to keep an open mind.
Well, and I think that's the power of, I use AI a lot too. And for the same things you were just mentioning, I use it for reference. I did a whole series that was essentially all hand drawn, but the first, pushes of concept were done entirely in AI, because I could lay in bed and generate thousands of images a night and wake up in the morning and then pick the 100 that I wanted to like spend time with. And then from that 100, pick the 10 that made sense. And then from that 10, the 5 that I really wanted to draw. And it saved me,
And also like
months.
instant generation, same, color palettes and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
That sort of a thing is like, I don't have to sit there and color 57 versions of it. I can just I can just have it pump out like a bunch of different palettes of kind of the same basic image, super fast to get to a choice that way.
My favorite thing though is actually I use the Discord a lot, and on my Discord we've enabled Midjourney so that anybody in my community can use it. And at first it was just for fun, but what began to happen were a lot of folks, a lot of my collectors, a lot of folks that are part of the community they began to use it because it was there and available, and it's the first time they'd ever made an image like since childhood. Like these are grown ass men and women, and to get a direct message or a DM or them to share that work on the Discord and then be like, I made this thing, like I told it what to make. This is my imagination come to life, and that's never really happened for me. That's like, I hate to use a consulting term, but like that's a huge unlock, like to see somebody um, gain a new capability and be proud of what they made, and have maybe the courage to try it again, and Lord knows what it might lead to. I think that unlocking of imagination and
I mean, to
creativity
me,
is
the
great.
next level is like being able to make like short videos, right? And eventually, like
Mhm.
if you have a YouTube channel or something, you can like make your own sort of like animated content, like without having to pay a fucking studio. I mean, I'm sure at some point they'll monetize the fuck out of it, but I mean, think about it. If you could string enough, if you could like tune it enough to generate like stuff that makes sense all in a row, you could start making like small animated pieces and stuff. I mean, there's kind of like a lot of potential.
To your point, the technology enables you to do new things every year. What the drawings I make today, I could not have made 3 years ago. What I make today, like I can't even imagine what I'm going to be capable, what anybody's going to be capable of making 3 years from now. So yeah, man, you're right. You got to embrace this stuff as it's happening because it will blow past you faster than you won't see it coming unless you're on it already.
I went through that cycle at least 3 times in my career where I had a really great peer group. They were awesome at what they did, but the minute like either they stopped making the technology and they had to learn something new, like in the case of like photostats and silk screening and analog photography, or becoming an adept at computers, or um, even just using fucking social media to like all that stuff. So and it's sad because it's like, isn't it obvious, dude? Like it's just another pencil. Don't be scared of it. So it's like, yeah, I think it's crucial for a creator to like not be afraid to try out new things. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. Also, it doesn't mean you have to replace your old stuff. It's just one more sort of technique in your back pocket, right?
Hey, fellas, do you mind? Would you be open to a couple of questions from the audience?
Sure.
So can we go to On My Way first? Did you have a question, bud?
Yeah, it was actually just a statement. Now that we're on the topic of AI art, I just wanted to say much respect to all the AI artists out there, because it is not easy creating beautiful AI art. I will tell you that now. I did try, I did my little dabble, and it's hard. Those keywords that they put in and the manner that they put them in really does make all of the difference in your final product. And they might go through that image and have it re-rendered 50, 75 times to get what is actually desired from them. And I feel like that paragraph that they put in for their prompt is like their signature in the art world. So I know it's not ink to canvas, but much respect to all the AI artists.
I mean, in a weird way, it's almost like learning to write a special kind of poetry, interfacing with interfacing with the software, right? So if you learn how to like sing to it real nice, it'll give you good results.
Hey, hey, boys, I have a quick question. I love this conversation because I've been reading so much about like AI and AI, like obviously like now it comes like with AI art, and some of the stories I read about like teachers and educational institutions that are like outlawing this stuff. It's like, no, it's not real art and blah blah blah. Like I love hearing you guys say like this is just it's another tool, right? It's just another tool for you guys to be able to utilize.
Here's the thing, dude. I've been making a full-time living as an artist, small a, sometimes a big A. I had my period of like gallery shows and big oil paintings, right? Traditional. So I've been making like a for real, like my daily bread has come from being an artist, and I can't tell you how many thousands of times that I've had to see non-artists define what art is and isn't. Art is only what the creator says it is. Nobody else's opinion is valid. at all because they haven't tried doing it. They don't know what they're talking about. I have very little respect, including myself. I don't criticize work I can't actually do myself. So it's like that whole world of like what is and isn't art, that's all just a bunch of shit because I've been doing it my entire adult life, right? And I don't know what is art. It just, you know what I'm saying? Like, ignore all those people. They're wrong. They're all wrong.
I love that. I love hearing you say that. And Frank, Brian, Ali, if you guys want, send me some of your stuff. Like I'm very big on artists making sure that they retain their names, their rights, their copyrights, and all this other stuff. Especially in the decentralized world, I know that like sometimes stuff might be out of reach, right, in the decentralized world. So if you guys want, like, shoot me a DM with your email addresses, or as well as like your wallet addresses. On these spaces, I always go and I register these names and I make sure that they end up in the right hands. So, Frank, there's a bunch of different variations for you. Ali, I'm waiting on yours. Brian, I have a couple for you as well. So, like,
I mean,
please,
basically, dude, I already have Kozik.eth. That's all I need. You know?
yeah. So somebody can also register Kozik with that little R, right? That little R that says registered trademark.
Right, but
that
you know,
can...
but that's going to be their problem. So it's like, bootlegging is all. The key is by the time they're trying to do the last thing I did, I'm already moving on to new products and art. So I'm not super
Yeah,
worried about
that's
that
great.
stuff. I have the main one, right? And so I'm good.
Good stuff.
Hey, that's awesome. Hey, just want to shout out my cousin Bobby Bascaran is here as well. He's an artist making music for a long time. He's a listener. He's this year he's got music that's been accepted by the Grammys, and the committee is voting on it. So fingers crossed he gets the nomination nod. But yeah, man, Bobby, if you're listening, it'd be great at some point, when we're doing a little bit of a reset or something, maybe you can come play one of your music, one of your songs here as well.
That'd be great. Come up, Bobby.
This is a dope panel, by the way. I love how like these impromptu things kind of like happen and they like the way they just unfold. DCon was amazing. Frank, I'm gonna echo what you were saying. Like I went to DCon for the people, right? Like the art's great. That was the added bonus. I went for this entire VeVe fam just to meet up with all these crazies that you see on your phone, and it was something really, really dope. So I just want to shout out this entire VeVe fam. Like you guys are like crazy. It was so good seeing you guys.
And I'll tell you guys something else about Designer Con, especially this year. So part of me going to Designer Con is, I run a toy company, right? For a dude that owns it. I run this company called Kid Robot. I don't own it. I just run it. And at Kid Robot, I have to see what's going on and, find new artists that are still, willing to do something right with the company. They haven't gotten too big yet. And over the years, many of the artists that are now like Kid Robot standards, they were just some kid with a table at the event, right? And we might have done like their first releases, and that multiplies out. Like, so for example, this year, I think because I did some panels, I got approached by some like pretty heavy string puller type people that actually, control vast amounts of money and work for major studios and have the ability to sort of reach down from that world and pluck up a concept or an artist or a company, right, and elevate them, give them that shot, that big shot, right? And there were a few of those people walking around, and I haven't seen that level of like 800-pound gorillas at a convention in a really long time. It's always like mid-level management or below, and they'll talk a good game, but stuff doesn't really happen. So the other thing, if you're a creator or a small businessman, is you have no idea who that person talking to you is. They may be a super powerful person in the industry or like someone that's interested in investing in like emerging art and stuff like that. So there's also that aspect of going to these conventions because everyone is kind of like, there's no big hierarchy, right? Like everyone, even Comic Con has weird hierarchies these days, but DCon, like, you can one-on-one with kind of any, it's kind of cool, man. The people that you can actually have a conversation with.
Hey, Frank, was there, like when this DCon compared to others, Was there something new from some artist that either showed up this time, or someone new, or something that kind of caught your eye or attention?
Right. So I didn't go last year. So I don't know what last year's was like. I hear it wasn't that great. This one was. It's an entirely new landscape. So here's what I saw, and I've been going to. I've been going to these with the exception of last year since the very first one in 2007, and been going to Comic Con since about 2000. So what I saw this year was a couple of really big main things. There's been a whole creator and small manufacturing scene brewing in China. I was going over there quite a bit before COVID because what you have over there is you have a lot of kids that are second generation kids from manufacturing families that have access not only to like they can set up their own factory, right? But they went to art school and they have really good taste and they're skilled. So like, a lot of really interesting stuff in China. Nobody over here had any kind of access to it. So I would go there and go to the conventions over there and talk to them, and I would do projects there. And COVID kind of like slammed that door. But now this year, some of the better ones, I mean, Pop Mart is the big commercial example. Pop Mart's a really big company in China, like really big. But even independents, and so not only are they bringing like a fresh style and meticulous attention to form and detail, but like some of them are making their own toys and they'll make them for you too. So that was a big change. Sort of a whole new hemisphere showed up with a lot of energy and punch and ability to interface. That's really good. Okay. Also, it's this like the VeVe digital NFT component. Now, most of the NFT stuff was in the corner because the regular NFT market is like in the shitter right now. Not a lot of people back there, getting excited about nouns or whatever, which is unfortunate. But and what that does is that is basically suddenly there's a highway to the stars. There's a space elevator. Okay, like there's a way for all the, like just the most basic example. A lot of people that went there for VeVe got turned on to DCon. They were going to start collecting stuff outside of VeVe that's associated with DCon. And the reverse. A lot of creators and companies that had no idea how any of this stuff worked got exposed to like a real positive sort of NFT digital collectible thing, right? They can see like, oh, it's not bullshit. There's actually like real people that are stoked to do this, and it's fun and exciting, right? So that's the major change here is that like, anybody that's been in this world for the last few years, there's been a lot of ham-fisted, clumsy attempts, right? Like the Board Ape Yacht Club event. So who cares about that? Or like, but this is the first time I went somewhere where the two things actually merged and kind of like both sides, instead of sort of like siloing off and being enemies, they all became friends. And that cross-pollination, both like intellectually, collector-wise, creatively, and financially, is going to make both sides prosper. The tide is rising. I can also just smell this. I've been going to these things for 30 years. Unless something insane happens in the real world, okay, if everything kind of goes okay for society and the larger economy, we're at the beginning of, I'm going to say, a 3 to 5 year massive boom cycle in the world you saw at DesignerCon. I can smell it. I can smell it in the water, man.
Frank,
That's amazing.
Sorry.
Hey, Bobby, it'd be great if you can introduce yourself, maybe play a song for us. That'd be sort of like that little.
Before we go into that, can I ask
Can
Frank a question about DCon
Go ahead.
for this year?
Can you hear Sabet, Mr. MC1?
Yeah,
no, I cannot hear Sabet at all.
Oh,
Let
you
me
can't
drop
hear
and
me?
come back.
All right, drop and come back. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question can you hear me now or no?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right. So Frank, every year I've been going to DesignerCon and Comic Con and everything else for 20 years. But 20 years ago, I was 23 years old, trying to get in 20 years old, and it was always difficult to get noticed by all the the people who were in charge, the manufacturers, the toy makers, the publishers, all of that stuff. And I felt like kind of like a beggar waiting in line to talk to these people, even, the likes of yourself back then, right? There was no way I could talk to somebody like you. Even if I did, it would be like, go back to the back of the line, bro. Like your work isn't all that yet. And it wasn't, to be fair, the work wasn't there yet. And the work ethic was there, but the work wasn't. But there was always this hierarchy that was there, that was very like condescending in a manner of like for artists. And when you see artists just sitting around waiting for their turn to be discovered, it was always very saddening, right? Unless somebody like Tokidoki, where Pune came and backed him up, and he, there was money behind him, and he was talented, but he got to get noticed. This year, when I went to this con, by the time I got back, I did feel some of those tinges and some of those pings of the past, right? Like that icky feeling of like, oh, what does it take to talk to this guy? Or is he gonna, give me an opportunity or whatever? Not that I need it, but I'm just saying like it was a reminder, right? So when I came back, I wrote like this whole dissertation of like how I felt about the cons. And I distilled it all down to 5 things. And I wrote the design, Web3 killed the cons. A realization reminders after attending Designer Con today. Number 1, gatekeeping is dead. Number 2, ass kissing is dead. Number 3, artists control their own fate if they so choose. Number 4, gratitude, love, community is the only way. And number 5, Web3 equals freedom. So this was what I took away this year, was that I felt that so much of Designer Con was just standing still. People like websites and friends that I've known for decades are still standing still in that old school mentality. And yes, the Web3 guys, my friends like Mumbot and everybody else was in the corner back there, but they're doing things that that are like so much at the speed of light in this Web3 space. And me and you can actually sit here and have a conversation finally. After it took me 25 years to get to know you, Frank, and you know that, and to be able to talk to you as a friend and get your advice on things and all of that stuff, it's so meaningful. But this would have been completely almost impossible 20, 25 years ago, right? So what I'm saying is that these 5 points that I walked away from this year with DCon, uh, how do you see that? And what is there a response to that? And I know you see it kind of joining forces, but I also still see that there's this like fading away of the old, but they're kind of still stuck and holding on. And then there's the new that's still not being accepted yet. And that's why they're sitting in the corner, the baby's corner. So I just wanted your opinion. But I did walk away with that tinge of icky feeling this year too, other than
Well, I
meeting
mean,
everybody else.
well, I think that's a shame. So, I mean, I can only speak for myself, okay? So, anybody, I mean, unless I was like, had a headache at the end of a long day, you know, the reason I go to conventions is to meet my peers and the people that are interested in my work. So I always make time to talk to anybody. At the same time, I learned a long time ago, I don't really get into like portfolio criticism, right, for new artists, because that could cause irrepressible harm, right? Now, for your other points, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. So yes, some of the old guard is going to like shrivel up and fade away because they can't see the opportunities that are like being literally pushed in their faces, right? You know what I'm saying? There's like, in the creative arts, being a visual artist is no different from being an actor, like wanting to be an actor or a writer or a musician or any of the creative arts. It's a brutal landscape, always has been. And there's a business behind it, which I learned to manipulate early. So I've always been a businessman and an artist from the day after I got ripped off for the first time. I was like, oh, this has to change. So that's a story for another day. So I've always been a businessman as well, and I spend as much time studying and thinking about business techniques and how to effectively do things in the real world, right? For logistics and manufacturing and production and marketing and all that kind of shit that you actually have to think about to have a long-term career, unless you're like blessed with a great partner or something, which I never was. So yeah, like there's no guarantee. Just because you show up and you're eager, there's no guarantee. Like you do have to do your song and dance. And, you have to have, in a way, a public persona as an artist because you are an entertainer, okay? And, mine has always been sort of this, like, the glass is half full and we're going to make really tasty lemonade with it. And, like, let me tell you why. Anybody that's ever known me for any amount of time knows I'm, if anything, over enthusiastic, right? And try to do way too many things. But if you do one thing and it fails, 100% failure rate. If you do 100 things and 90 of them fail, 10 worked. That's my approach. And so all I have to say is that, like, dude, like, you're good online, okay? You're really charismatic online, and you've done really well in the online world. So, you might have to sort of take a step back and go, okay, like, none of these people know how charismatic my voice can be in this medium we're in right now, okay? You have a great voice for radio. You're effective here. So you need to, like, maybe look at some people that you kind of know that are being effective in whatever world you want to reach in the con scene and go, okay, what are they doing? And then, like, develop a persona, develop a gimmick, develop a thing, do a thing. And
No,
it's not going to happen in the course of
I totally get that. I'm just saying that it's irrelevant now, right? Like me trying to,
yes and no, because here's
right?
the thing, like there's going to be very few VeVes. VeVe is successful for all the FUD. It's actually working, okay? And it takes there's a massive amount of infrastructure behind the scenes.
Love
okay?
VeVe, yeah, of course.
Okay, now a part of DesignerCon is it exists in the real world. And the real world's not just like I ordered 144 t-shirts and flipped them at the con. The real world involves, like, building an actual company that is completely functional under law, and that can provide logistics and deadlines and, like, make contracts and all that stuff. So it's like the actual real world things behind making, say, a simple looking toy are really complicated. You have a logistics chain that stretches from, say, North America to Asia and back, and all,
Sure.
So that's the thing. It's a whole nother skill set. So yeah. And for someone like a Kid Robot to go even as small as we are, and we're not that big, to produce, say, like, okay, Sabet, I'm going to make your toy. I have to go through this huge process beforehand, like talking to, like, everybody in the company about, like, okay, I want to do this. Here's why. How are we going to make it work? What's it going to cost? How are we going to make it? There's a lot there. So yeah, like, I think, like any creative endeavor,
Well,
there's
what
a
I'm
huge
saying,
failure rate, but you got to keep trying and
what
dude,
I'm
if you can
saying,
bring the
what I'm
charm
saying
you
is
have
that
here to there, I don't
can that be skipped now, Frank, with NFTs? For example,
no, because, well, yeah,
I could
if you're
drop an
just gonna,
NFT of Stitch Bunny, for example, and have a manufacturer make
right.
the characters, and then the
Yeah,
toys,
but then
and
you're getting, like, a tiny cut. Wouldn't you rather make? I mean, we could have this boring ass discussion forever. I'm saying is that, like, I'm going to disagree with you on this point. I do not think that digital will replace the real world. Okay, like, you still want to snuggle on the couch with your Stitch Bunny, and
right.
and to make that on any sort of, like, scale takes a whole nother level of commitment and work, right? Like, that's me, dude. I'm whatever semi-successful artist, you know, I run two companies. That's why I'm a successful artist, because I've run two companies for a long time now, and I use those companies to leverage my art. So there's
Sure.
techniques and ways to go. I don't think that you should go away. A lot of those people that you think are giving you the cold shoulder,
Not
they
not
just
just
don't
here.
know.
I'm just
They don't
saying,
know.
like,
They don't know who you are. They have no idea. They weren't on Clubhouse. They have no idea about the NFT thing. They're just like, I don't understand. I mean, a really great artist I know who just did a great thing with Disney is just like, I don't know what Web3 is. And he's not really that interested in finding out. So it's at some point, he's going to lose for sure that opportunity. So I don't think that the two things are mutually exclusive. I think they can help each other. And I think there will be certain people that stay strictly within their domains. And there's people that are going to cross pollinate. And the cross pollinators, I think, are always more successful in the long run.
sure.
That's just a personal opinion.
No, that's
And
great points.
I mean, I'm going through a dilemma right now. I mean, and I'll ask the room. I'd like some answers. So it's like, I had a really good time, like, sort of minting weird, random shit and putting it on OpenSea, and people were buying it. But I don't have a DAO, and I don't have a Discord, and I don't have a roadmap, and I don't have any of the shit that investor people, that crowd wants. I could, like, here's a AI vector file. You can make some for yourself. That's about all the utility. And so it's like, I have stuff I want to mint as NFTs off the VeVe system, but I'm so afraid now that someone's going to buy it and then get pissed at me because, like, they're not making money on the thing they bought from me, that I've stopped doing it. I'm only going to release stuff on VeVe, because at least on VeVe it's really transparent how it works, right? It's
well, I mean, that utility is not necessary
right?
for artists. I mean, if I'm
No, but it is, because I already got people fucking pissed as fuck at me because, like, the NFTs they bought from me for like half an ETH, well,
Yeah.
ETH went down, and I'm like, well, I didn't do that. I'm sorry. You know, I never promised you that you would get rich buying my shit,
Right.
right?
I mean, that was the
So
beginning when I started
I
too.
actually kind of hit the reverse of you. So I'm curious to you. It's like, as you know, someone that has something to lose, like I have a career to safeguard, you
Right.
know, is my urge to mint just weird NFTs, whether they sell or not, just because there's like cool stuff that doesn't fit anywhere else, you know, weird experimental shit. Should I keep doing that, or is like the risk of like being hated because I ripped somebody off?
No, Frank.
You
I
know,
mean,
I have that question for like maybe not
I
the professionals in the room, but like the average person that might want to dip into like NFTs at
well, I
some
mean,
level.
one, I've bought your NFTs and I love it, and you know, I was there when you minted those first ones. I'm still a proud owner of it, and I know that it's a piece of history. Two, personally, I've minted and sold over 20,000 NFTs in the past year and a half or so. And at the beginning, maybe there was some degens that were freaking out that my stuff wasn't going up fast enough, or I continued to mint. And I did get a lot of shit from people calling me to even asking me to stop minting. But, you know, just selling 3,000, 4,000 NFTs in the past two months, and everybody's stoked to and waiting for the next drop. You know, as far as utility, my Discord is not that busy, but I'm consistently on Twitter. I'm engaging everyone. I show up to physical events. I paint for people. I do everything I can, but it's the point of it is that people like the art and they want to hold it. And I go to places like Known Origin where I know that the collectors there, most of them aren't there for the flip. I mint on my own contract, you know, the pieces that I know are historical value that are going to be stuck around for forever. And I don't engage in conversations anymore if someone's pissed at me for not being able to flip it for twice as much tomorrow. But the fact is that it naturally goes up. I bet you anything that if you are continuously on NFTs, your stuff is going to be worth more and more every day. The top tier of my work might not be worth that much right now, the ones that I'm continuously releasing and people save. But if you go to my OpenSea and just go down, you know, a few lines, they become quote unquote unaffordable or less affordable, you know, from one ETH to more, just because of the fact that they've been on the blockchain for a little bit longer. So for
Yeah, but
me,
I think though that you're the rare case because you kind of like, I mean, I know you used to, you know, you're dedicating like, you know, your entire waking time more or less to supporting
absolutely.
your thing. I'm not in a position to do that. For me, it's like a casual fun thing because, like I say, I have other things I have to do all day long.
Yeah, you run a company, you're an
So
artist, you're well
right.
known
So right
yourself. There's
now,
layers.
yeah. So right now, you know, and I have to do yard work. So, so right now, it's like I think I'm just gonna like, you know, kind of live by myself to the VeVe thing, and I think that, you know, because that seems to me kind of like, I mean, to be working really well. I think it's cool. So I think that's the route I'm going to take for a little while
That's
there.
pretty
You know?
amazing, Frank. I think you've just got a ton of supporters on VeVe, man. We love your stuff, you know.
Yeah.
OMW has a question. We'll just squeeze in some questions from these guys as well.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to touch on that point, Frank. I think you should continuously drop as many NFTs that pleases you, honestly. Uh, Back in the good old days of Clubhouse, you know, early 2021, when these artists were joining in spaces and having a conversation and dropping their NFTs, it wasn't about a degen flip. Like, granted, these degens came in and they fucked everything up, excuse my French, but like, it's not about a profit, it's about
Yeah, I
supporting
mean, my
communities and
theory is
resources.
that the success of Bored Apes ruined the market because suddenly, like that was like a one in a generation fluke, you know, fueled by media, like smart media, celebrity management people, and everyone thought it was all supposed to be like that, and it kind of like that hyper success of that one project, kind of like I think kind of destroyed everything else, and also you know the bullshit that's happening in crypto.
It did,
You know,
but it's coming back again towards the artist, Frank. Like if you look right now, all of a sudden you see all the PFE projects go down, but then the artists are getting a lot of love on different platforms currently. I mean, you know, if you talk to Brian right here or anybody else that's in the space doing real art for the sake of art, it's seeing it. You know, even in a dead market, it's doing
yeah.
well. I mean, it's
But
good.
it's hard though. It's hard because, like I say, it's like I kind of have something to lose. So it's like if I if I somehow fucking misstep, right, and this is the one thing that's stressful about Web3 for someone like me. If I misstep it somehow, and suddenly there's just like, a small group of people out there that are going to dedicate themselves to like fudding the fuck out of me for a while on social media, it'll have negative consequences, like, on my company, on, a company I run for somebody else, right? Like, so I have to step pretty carefully, I think, in the near future. Now, I have applied a tiny bit more pressure to the VeVe folk, and they say like there's going to be hopefully Q1 there's going to be some interesting stuff happening. So we'll see how it goes for the next 3 months. But I think I'm going to do like a VeVe only stance for the next 3 to 6 months, and see where that leaves me like by next summer, as far as like what I want to do. As far as like Web3 stuff, because I had a lot of, when PFPs were high, dude. Like I got offered like a major like Labit PFP project, and I turned it down because I didn't want to fuck with the VeVe stuff that had already come out, right? Even though like legally I would have been able to do that. I could have had my big PFP project, probably would have done just fine. Then it would have like all went to zero, So I'm kind of glad I sidestepped that, because a lot of my friends got involved with those projects. Some of them got exposed to like some shit. Some of them kind of like did a quiet fade, but too volatile for my taste. The VeVe thing seems like if anything's going to work long term, it will be their system, because it is a little bit controlled for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. So
it makes sense, Frank. And then we had David you in the space just a little while ago. Wish we had you guys up here at that time. And he talked a little bit about, just artists, the one-of-one stuff, and then also some of the toys and fidgetals. I mean, obviously with your background experience, that would be another huge area, which I just think is great.
So I don't know when it's going to happen, but I've been talking to them about the digital aspect of things for a long time. So if anybody's going to be in a position, so what I see happening with this digital thing is some pretty big players like the Funcodes of the world, who started with the physical aspect and are very successful, have tried to do the digital part, and they've all pretty much shit the bed on it. Okay, to be honest with you, I haven't really seen a company that has its roots in the real world be successful in the NFT space. I really can't think of, maybe Nike. I don't fucking know, right? But I think that, because the hard part is getting the digital part right now. Like VeVe completely builds their shit out the way they're talking, and it all works. Then it's going to be like falling off a log for them to release an equally badass, like, lines of physical items, because they can just call, I've been manufacturing toys for 25 years. I know how it's done. We do some really big IPs. So that part will be easy when and if they decide to do it, because they're doing the hard part right now, because they're figuring out shit for the first time. The toy side of things, the physical side of things, there's a lot of us that know how to do that day in, day out, because that's what we do.
That's pretty cool. Hey, Brian, I know you've been listening here. Frank and Sabet were talking about some lessons and stuff, and what some things that they picked up. You were the chill dude walking around all of DCon, taking a look. It'd be great to hear your perspectives, man.
I think Frank hit a lot of nails on the head there with, people's ability to kind of take control of their careers and make new products in new ways and bring them to market in new ways, and put all that love into the craft rather than the booth behind it. I think that's a huge thing that I took away from DCon, and to see so many Web3 friends now in the fray is really exciting. And I think that a lot of the conversations, including one that I had with Frank, was, how do some of us that started kind of in digital art, or have found our footing, I should say, in digital art, how do we begin to bring that into the real world in new ways, whether that's, releasing physicals or focusing more on prints. That was another thing that was really a big topic of every, dinner conversation I was part of, is, what does next year look like, and how do you bring these worlds that really are, they share so much ethos, and that love for collecting. How do you bring those two things together to kind of bridge those audiences and really kind of tell your story in expanding it in ways that you hadn't thought about a year ago or 2 years ago? That was a really big takeaway.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Any specific new artists or things that stood out to you this time that caught your eye, Brian?
Yeah, I'm. I mean, I'm always fan of my friends in the Ghost Club. Um, but it's really, really cool to see folks like Pop Wonder, who's had just a tremendous year or 2 years in the NFT space. He's got his fingers going in a few new interesting directions that I'm super excited to see. And then folks like Wooden Cyclops, and his name's Wes. He's an amazing illustrator. I don't know. I'm just seeing all these illustrators that have kind of bottled up their work, or had a limited audience before, all of a sudden have, be inspired by the reach that they're able to push out to now, and it's making their visions grander, um, and more prolific. One person who wasn't there at DesignerCon, though, was there in spirit because he gave me his ticket to get in, was our friend Brock, McBlockchain. I think a lot of folks know him. I think he's a great example of what Web3 in the space is enabling with his Feces project, where he had a very simple concept that he's a technician, man. Like he understands how to weave this stuff together in some innovative ways, and that's led to these amazing art experiences that 2 years ago he wouldn't have been able to pull off. So like everybody from Pop Wonder to Brock, like it's just everybody's crushing it in new ways, and a year from now, I can't imagine what they're going to be making.
And kind of like my hat's off to OG Slick, because thus far he's the only. It's like he had this amazing setup. He had the LA County Zoo, so he had this huge booth that looked like a jail yard, and he had he had his whole line of characters called primates, and he had all this merch, and it was busy as hell the whole time. And come to realize, it's all based on he actually bought a Bored Ape as an investment. So it's like, as a person that runs a company that makes merch, I've been approached by a lot of Bored Ape holders, and I kind of have turned them all away, because I'm like, look, really, unless you can do something really extra with this, the only person that wants to buy your ape is you. Like, I can't sell 10,000 copies of your ape as a toy or whatever, because nobody cares about your ape, right? Whereas Slick, he took his ape, and he the spirit of the ape is there, and there were some like high-end busts that were a one-of-one replica, but like he basically created an ape character, and it worked, and he was selling tons of that shit. So that was the one like completely giant merge of Web3 and physical that I saw that killed it at every level, from presentation to the storyline to the humor. And he's the guy that did the LA Hands years ago, and he had a real successful line of like figurines with the LA, like the Mickey Mouse LA Hands thing. And he's just a general art, kind of like really, really cool, like part of the Los Angeles art scene. So he actually was the smartest cross-pollinating entrepreneur I saw at the entire thing, because he completely skillfully handled both sides of the equation to produce something novel and something that was new and something that was better than a toy and better than an NFT. It was a new character line based on merging the two worlds together. So if anybody went into that LA Zoo booth, that's the future of successful entrepreneurs in this like new space right there.
That's amazing. Fine, makes sense. Hey, we have Village come up. It's 6 Village. Do you have a question for these
Hey,
gentlemen?
what up? What up, Sanjay, Silicon, VeVe Magic? How's everybody doing tonight? Yeah, I got a
Good.
question. We've kind of talked about it a lot recently, but we never got a perspective from an artist's perspective. And I just wanted to pose the question and just hear their perspective. So VeVe brought on Banksy's Brandalized and Metacom what are they? The structures. And a lot of the community sentiment is, why would they do this? It's against his wishes, and they feel like that it's going to deter a lot of the artists coming to VeVe.
Am I rugging or is that its village?
Village, man. But I think the gist to the question is there.
He
I
faded
think
off.
we don't know whether it's a lot of the community, some of the community, but it's a good question. It'd be great to get Frank. Maybe you can take that, and
And
Sabet and Brian, you can
take
All
care.
right,
as
Thank
well.
dude. I got a fucking hot take that you're gonna hate. Okay. So number one is I know who Banksy is. He doesn't need the money. Number two is who the fuck cares what Banksy thinks? Okay. So if he's not going to enforce his own copyrights, and he's not going to like go through any kind of process, well, why is he the one guy that doesn't have to follow rules but gets the rewards? He's left his ass hanging out in the wind for a long time. And you know, if anybody of you is involved in the real world at any level, you can't fucking do that, then like cry foul later. Okay. And the ugly truth about Banksy is whenever Banksy needs some money, he just goes, and I know these people, dude. He just goes to some super rich French businessman guy and goes, how would you like a piece for your villa? That'll be 500,000 euros. Boom. He goes in there, he slaps some shit up for a day, he gets paid. Homeboy makes all the money he wants. And super hot take, everyone's going to hate me. All he ever did was rip off Molecular Rat in the 1968 Situationist student protest posters from the Summer of Revolution in France. So, like, you know what, man? Like, if it looks like a Banksy and people want to pay $20 for it, well, you know what? People can buy Mona Lisas all day long too for $20, right? Banksy has made himself kitsch. Thematically, his work is very, very safe. No one's ever threatened by a Banksy piece. That's why it's beloved by like rich businessmen, because it's like, oh, it's like I'm edgy, but not really, because it's just and Banksy has good marketing, really good marketing. And I got involved in a venture a few years back with some very wealthy European investors who were going to do a legit manufacturing deal worldwide with Banksy, and he just jerked them off forever, which is kind of fun, but the process got really irritating over the course of a year. So, like, if Banksy is going to get a little butthurt because Medicom is using the Japanese veil to produce Banksy-like pieces on a mass scale, which they own the copyrights to, okay, and and VeVe does it, well, there you go, right? So they're not representing Banksy; they're being pretty transparent about saying what it is. The consumer can vote with their feet. If you don't want to buy, quote, a bootleg Banksy, just don't buy it.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because like I feel the exact same way about the scenario. You know, it's like if the guy's not willing to fight for his IP and come out and show himself, well then that's the loss he's gonna have to take by trying to be anonymous.
Yeah, and I'm totally with that, Frank. Like we had this conversation, I think yesterday, and I was in the same position. It's like you're given the rights of protection, but there's a reason why IP owners have lawyers and send cease and desist letters. And if you're not protecting your IP, it becomes public domain. So,
And also, he's quick to destroy his own work for an ironic news cycle, like with the shredding painting or whatever. So one could say that, like, what better way than to dilute and destroy your own work than by letting it be bootlegged endlessly? So it's kind of like, well, what kind of semantic philosophical game do you really want to play? Yeah.
Hey, Frank, this is amazing. We had we had like I think a 4 or 6 hour space the other day where there's a couple of people who have collected Banksy, who kind of took the other point of view and were knowledgeable about Banksy and this, that, and the other. But there was just this big long debate, which I think we had you in the space, and I must note to self the next time we have these spaces, maybe just get Frank and a couple other Brian and Sabet and a bunch of other guys in there, and just kind of and it's good, and we don't expect everybody to have the same perspective, but it's good to kind of get some educated voices, people who've been in the space for a very long time, who understand the complexity of the different issues, who kind of share their points of view, which can help a lot of other folks who know 5% of the story or 25% of the story or whatever it is, kind of get that thoughts aligned. I mean, Sabet and Brian, it'd be great to get your take as well, guys.
I actually have a question for Frank and Brian about, or anybody else who knows Xcopy, which is kind of like a super famous, well-known NFT guy that just made his work CCO, which means that anyone can take his work and sell it, make modifications, and make it his own, and do anything they want with it. How do you feel about that kind of approach?
Well, for me, so you're talking about sort of like how do you want to handle bootlegging as an artist? So my stance has always been that if it was obviously going to be a real threat from someone that really had their shit together, I'd go shut them down, right? To be cranky. And it doesn't take that much, cease and desist letter, you call Amazon, whatever. We do it every day at Kid Robot. You talk about getting bootlegged. And we can even get shit shut down in China, like on Weibo and stuff. So there's a process that's not that difficult to chase these people down and stop shit. Okay, I do it every day. And it's usually because it's a product that's an IP, our Star Wars stuff or our Sanrio stuff. I have to safeguard their interests, right? As a person, I love bootleggers because I would see cool bootleg toys, and I would coming out of China, and I would contact the guy bootlegging them. I go, "Can I buy them all?" Because if I bought them all at wholesale and signed them, I could sell them as mine and make a bunch of money off of it, right? Or the image of the green lady on the one stupid famous poster that's been bootlegged a million times. That's fine, because what happens is nobody ever remembers the bootlegger's name. They remember my name. So if somebody wants to make $100 by bootlegging 10,000 images and putting them out all over the world, and it has my name on it really big, I actually benefit because basically it's free advertising. That's always been my take, because I deal in so it's but when it comes to, what I'm saying, on that level of bootlegging, so it's kind of like the Xcopy guy 20 years from now, he'll be a gigantic figure in digital collectibles and NFTs, right? No one will ever remember the names of the people that did a second iteration of his work. So it's kind of like, what are you actually after?
Okay, so you think it's to his benefit to open it up?
I could sit there and bootleg Sabet shit all day long, but 10 years from now, they will still know who you are. They would never know who I was.
Right. So it's actually good for us. So you think that CCO would be actually good for Xcopy or me or you?
Sure, because think about it, dude. He can lay claim to all of it now. Everything, every derivative of his work, he gets to stand up and go, "Yes, they copied me."
Right.
So who's the winner?
I think he's in a unique position though, where I wouldn't say his look was unique, but he definitely fortified it, right? He built a brand around it, so much so that pretty much any glitch, block color kind of thing looks like that. So I totally get how he has that ability, but he also has he's made ungodly amounts of money at this point. And at the end of the day, when you can afford to go CCO when you don't have to worry about making a buck today. If I were to go CCO, it would be disastrous because this is not a violin here, but every single sale that I make, it helps put a new set of winter tires on my car. It puts gas in the gas tank. It pays the bills. So there's no way I could ever think about going CCO right now, because I would, any sale that I miss it hurts. But I think when you're at that level of,
but here's the thing, you're right. You write a blockchain contract agreement with everyone that was to copy you, and okay, make whatever you want, but I get 0.05% of sales in perpetuity.
Mm-hmm.
Then basically, right? I'm not.
Well, I mean, we're going through that. Right? We're going through that nightmare now with, the royalty situation. I had a collector today reach out and said, "I bought this thing."
That's just hedge fund assholes trying to play the odds to survive for the next quarter. That's nothing realistic in the industry whatsoever. That's a short-term play to shore up failing, whatever the fuck, all those weird tech bro dudes that are way in over their head with crypto. That has nothing to do with the actual art. I don't think.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you, but a lot of the marketplaces are making it, literally making it impossible to get royalties, which was I wouldn't say it was a promise, that the space endeared upon all artists, but it definitely feels like the space is rugging creators now, right? It's an
Oh, it's
interesting
definitely
twist.
gonna it's definitely gonna de-incentivize work of quality. It'll just flood the market with more crap PFP projects or shitty semi-automatically generated image chunks. And so yeah, like they're just poisoning what's left of their own pond. And I think once that all clears out, like there'll be one or two of the more coherent sites that actually enforce a secondary royalty policy on fine art. I don't agree for the PFP projects because I think like they're fun, but they are what they are. They're lotto scratchers, right? But I think that I would be comfortable with a two-tiered system where if it's like actually one of ones or like runs under like editions under 25 or something by like an accredited artist, whatever that might be, there should be a mandatory royalty thing. But if it's a big, like you know boner banana PFP project, like yeah, like those people shouldn't get because they're just paying some like person in Malaysia $10 to do all the art anyways. Like those are just completely transparent, like pieces of shit, like pyramid scheme things. I think so. I can see doing a split tiered system.
Hey, Brian, I would buy your art on VeVe, so why don't you come on over? Same thing with you, Sabet. Let's go.
I'm just saying, send me the paperwork. I'm literally sitting here. I have a pen in my hand right now.
Let's go.
We're working on it,
It's
man.
amazing.
Working on it.
It's really amazing, though. And one of the great things about DCon was, like, I got to spend time with Sabet. I got to spend time with Frank. I've known these guys for years, but, like, Mumbot and all these other, and I've actually known Jermaine for a few years. I don't think we've ever met in person. So it was cool to meet him in person. And so it's like I see Allison Bamcat, like I see all my friends dropping these amazing things for the VeVe community. I'm like, I want to play too. Because I'm excited about the momentum of art on the platform. Like I've dropped on other blockchains. I know what that like. I just had this thing on AVAX, which I love. It's a great project, but there's a lot of degens on that blockchain, and so my art got beat up. It got used as a commodity. And when I'm in these VeVe spaces and I hear David talk, I hear Sanjay talk, and I get to know these folks that these are collectors. These are folks that they have a curiosity and an itch that, collecting and possessing and cherishing and being caretakers of things that they love is part of their DNA. And I hate to talk about audiences, but that is the ideal audience for an artist who gives a shit about their work. It's not about making a buck. It's about putting work in people's hands and having them appreciate it. And I see that so vividly in the VeVe community.
Hey, thank you for saying that, Brian. There's a bunch of people like Dr. Rolex, Tony, just a whole bunch of people here, Silicon included, Magic. A lot of us, for us, we really care about who is the artist, what's their story, what do they stand for. We want to, some of us don't claim to be, deep into art, but we want to understand. And at the end of the day, I think we're not influenced by what other people think and all that other bullshit, nor are we. I think a lot of us can afford Bored Apes and multiple Bored Apes, but we never bought them at that time, and we still didn't buy them. We still don't buy them even now. So for us, we've got a different point of view, a different perspective, and we just love this engagement and this interaction with you guys. Honestly, Frank, I was just, literally the only thing I regret about DCon was not having a piece of paper and pencil when I was talking to Frank, and Jermaine and these guys, man. Like, it was unbelievable, man. It just blew my mind, man. It just blew my mind. And just to have this opportunity where you guys come into the space and have this conversation is great. So on the VeVe topic, obviously, Brian, you were in a space with Dave and Dan. You've met these guys. I think it's just a matter of time. And, I do hope I can see you on VeVe. Sabet, I hope you can see you on VeVe. I know Mumbot is going to be on VeVe. David today dropped the alpha. He said we're going to start with a one-of-one piece that from Mumbot, and then go from there. But
Can
yeah,
I say something?
And I mean,
Sanjay?
and that's kind of, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Frank.
It was actually towards you. I was going to say, you're sad that you didn't have your notepad around, but I'm grateful because with VeVe, I was able to take at least a screenshot, which hopefully they put this into the app as an option for us to do in app in the future. But I was able to take my piece from Frank that I own and have him digitally sign it. And I didn't have anything on me. All I had was my phone. But because I had my phone, and I didn't think to like have a physical with me or anything. But because I had my phone, I had at least something from him with me that he was then able to sign. And I'm like, it makes me even more excited for the future of hopefully one day having these signatures within app, because I think that'll be really cool. Sorry,
Right,
Frank.
and here's the thing that's super amazing about like the artists on VeVe. So the thing is, like, think about it, man. Like they could just be doing the big IP. They could just be doing Disney and Star Wars and whatever the fuck, everything that they're doing, right? And not give two shits about someone like me or Mumbot or hopefully Brian next month or whoever, or Jermaine, right? Like, what the fuck do they care about us? But what they're doing, man, is kind of amazing because David is I've seen him go to, I've interacted with David for many years before this happened, right? The guy is a stone cold degenerate collector, dude. Like, he's like a little kid in the candy store every time he sees something cool. He's actually got pretty good taste. So they could just be sitting in fucking New Zealand, just like doing a million fucking Marvels and Star Wars things and make all the money in the world. But they're going out and they're taking risks, right? Right. And they're spending like their very scarce time and resources dealing with somebody like me or Mumbot. Now, that for a creative, I cannot think of a more level playing field because like Mumbot's release will be equal in stature and context with the biggest Star Wars release they ever do to the view of the entire world that cares to go online and like look in. Now, I cannot think of any other creative industry on the planet that does that. Like, it's kind of crazy, and I think it's actually the coolest thing because even if like I was to only have gotten one shot or one release, still, it's like it's so much leverage for you. You could take that ball and run with it. So I think that like, I'm not saying they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart, but VeVe's going to create some very successful artists. Like some of these new artists they pick up are going to get followings and they're going to sell multiple releases. And like somebody like a Mumbot that's out there that has kind of been scraping along, trying to figure it out, they're going to get elevated pretty fucking fast. And that's like a really cool thing for a creative. And they're being super mellow about it. Like it's not an onerous situation with them at all. They're very, very like, dude, you can like email the CEO and he will answer you like every single fucking time, right? Or WhatsApp or what, So, and being someone that's dealt with these big IPs for a while now, that doesn't exist anywhere else actually at this level. Like it's a singular situation. So, and that's got to count morally and societally, like on the plus balance on their sheet, I think.
Yeah, makes sense. And Dave, just give me one quick second here. Frank, I mean, they brought you, Ron, and Jermaine out literally, within the first, few drops, right? Literally, in the first couple
They
seasons.
approached me 2 years before their initial
Yeah,
launch online.
so it was always part of the plan, and that's unbelievable, and just to start with you guys, and then to build on it, in a mass manner, and then in the one-of-one manner. And I don't know if they plan to integrate that, like Jermaine. But we had a drink with Jermaine, and during that chat, Jermaine is a big comic guy. He said, "Look, man, if David does Hulk 181, I'm first in line to do one of the VV exclusive covers." He wants it. He's like, "I thought I don't know where this goes, but I think you're right. These guys are going to, stretch the boundaries and the limits." And honestly, I just can't be more excited to be on a platform like this and engage with guys like you.
Right. And also they're already next level. So like just the fact that like, my digital collectibles are in such a great context, right? I'm alongside of like all the blue chip stuff except for Pokemon, and they're impossible to get. I've tried for Kid Robot. So I'm up there with, me and Jermaine and everybody else that comes on board as an individual artist. Their choice, not ours, but we got lucky. Well, that would be good enough, but now they're talking about like this multiverse thing they're starting to roll out. So the concept that at some point there could be a section of a multiverse
Yeah.
that I have creative control over that features like my character set is
Yeah,
insane. That's fucking insane because that takes like hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. I can't do that,
that is
but they
so true,
can.
Frank.
Okay, so for me, what I'm tripping on right now is I'm designing all this shit for like 2 or 3 years when their multiverse is really functional, and maybe you can go to Labbit's Enchanted Forest and Donut Shack and have like a VR experience in there, right? That's
Yeah,
what is getting me super excited, right? That I can design my own little world on the internet,
yeah, Mumbot. David talked about
right?
Mumbot
You know what
World.
I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you know what? To see what is a single piece of art, sort of evolve into a land, like an Alice in Wonderland kind of thing. Ron has Delusion World, Mumbot's got Mumbot World. You're going to have, Labbit Land, or, Frank, like,
I have a 220 page laid out Labbit brand book that is like everything from like the worlds to the environments to the evolution of the species, different points in Labbit history, how they like build objects, what they eat. Like there's an because I was trying to do a show for a long time, so and it's
let's
like it's
do
like
it.
gigs of files. They have it all. Like so it's like whenever they start wanting to plug that in, it already exists, and I had no other use for that.
Shit, man,
You know,
that
I
is
was trying
amazing.
to do like a theme park in China that would go to malls, and we were almost there in COVID hit. But this is going to be 10 times better because like we don't have to build something in a mall in China. It's going to be online, hopefully. So that's for a creator like yeah, man. You know what I'm saying, man? Go cut David's lawn. Get in the program because like that shit's going to be crazy.
I will cut David's lawn, man, for that. Hey, Dave, I know you had a question. Akil, you can go next. Dave, sorry to keep you holding for so long, brother.
Nah, you good, man. You good. I just wanted to make a quick comment, and then I had a question. Frank, I want to come back to the royalty thing with you for a second, but what I wanted to tell you guys is I wanted to touch on you're not just. I don't think you realize this because I was never an art collector. Never in my life. I'm 42 years old. I'd say a good chunk of the VeVe fam were not art collectors when they first came on here. But I think what you guys are doing is you're not just like spurring this like hey like buy and hold type mentality, but you're not only influencing and creating new artists and new talent, like they're going out and they're creating businesses around this kind of stuff, right? Like they're creating businesses around like the technology and like the intersection of the art and the tech. And I don't know if you guys really see it as prevalent as me or anybody else that's in these Twitter spaces as often, but like I'm genuinely seeing it with my own eyes, and I think you guys need to give yourselves a lot of fucking credit because this like the influence that you have is not just like, oh, you have a really cool piece of art. It transcends, in my opinion, like so much more than that. So I wanted to give you guys kudos for that. And Frank, I did have a question for you about the royalties when you were talking about like, yeah, it's just kind of the hedge fund guys. And I think what Brian was mentioning was a really valid point where these marketplaces now where the majority of these independent artists are actually like going and listing their stuff are complying with this bullshit hedge fund stuff. So like, where do you see this intersect? Like, where do you see this going? Because
Well,
it
I think
seems like
what's going to
it's
happen, I think there's going to be one more huge event that's going to be a downer event. And I think, who knows what'll trigger it. I think that there's going to be, I think what's going to happen, I think at some point, there's, burn rate, right? So, okay, a lot of these things, these markets, right? They made a lot of promises. They put out their shit coins. Everything's overcomplicated. They're all just borrowing money from each other. It is a tottering, creaky piece of shit, right? And I think what's going to happen is probably at the end of it, something like OpenSea will just sort of end up being like, who knows what, how long it can sustain, right? I think that maybe some of the smaller ones where they're more curated and more controlled, and there's not like a massive amount. Yes, they're gate kept, but I think at some point they'll be able to figure out. And like I think the future is going to be like for the lotto scratcher level PFP type, like today's meme NFT, like whatever piece of shit it is, right? That a bunch of people will get into and get out of real quick. That'll always be there. But I think for like in the long term, for the real art aspect, their websites will have to go to a two-tiered system, especially the big ones. Like there's going to have to be royalties for like legit creators, like artist creators, where it's like they, And then the other stuff is just going to be like what it is. But I think that there's going to be one more, I think, Bored Apes will take a shit at some point, and that's going to be a big problem, right? Because there's a lot of liquidity tied up in the Bored Apes if you do the math, right? There's a lot of crypto sitting locked up in those in that one project, right? So if that crashes and they all get dumped out, will that reinvigorate the general crypto market? Because a bunch of that shit will kind of go back into circulation, quote unquote. Or will it be the last stone and it'll wither away and it'll take like a new generation that comes along with a new and improved NFT product that's like the full sound animation 30-second mini loop thing, where smart artists work with a cool band to put out a mini visual out. Who knows what's going to be next? Something will come of it. But I think in the Wildcat NFT world, I think like except for a handful of people that have been very careful about maintaining their shit, I think like everything else is just going to be like, it's just going to be like Tulip Mania. You're going to read about it like we read about, the South Sea stock bubble or what happened with the tulip futures. And, I think it's going to be another one of those cycles. But from those ashes, a real tulip business emerged in Holland. And like, there's a lot of people in Holland make a lot of money growing flowers, right? Like stock companies figured out how to do it. And we all live on stock companies now. So I think after this devastating thing where a lot of like, people got a little like, I'm going to be rich for doing nothing except buying this thing. Like once that kind of euphoria is over, which was fueled by the pandemic and being shut in and the need to feel like you were in control of your own destiny because you're locked in your fucking apartment. I think something will emerge from the ashes and it'll be valid and it'll be real. And I think there's infinite like proper case use scenarios for blockchain technology that have nothing to do with like a pretty wrapper, but the actual like contract functionality behind it, whether it be for business purposes or deeds or trusts or wills or what have you, right? Annuity schemes, whatever, right? I think that it is the new technology, and I want to be part of it. I grew up reading science fiction. I've been waiting. I want an implant in my cornea, right? Like I want to be wired in, right? But I don't want to know how to do it. I just want it to work, right? I want the Fisher Price version, and that's coming. And the people that figured that out are, it's a brave new world. And, we can have we already have entire virtual economies. It's kind of awesome, right? We can explore the solar system via virtual means. Like we don't have to send someone out there to get radiated, right? I mean, I'm really into the future of this done properly. We survive the next 20 years.
I like it.
That's getting
yeah,
super
and I
deep.
can
We don't
have
need to go there.
and I can have a whole discussion with you about the Bored Apes and if they're actually I think in my opinion I think the Bored Apes they're holding up an ecosystem, right? That is like, to me that's the Wall Street guys, right? Like they're like now when you can borrow and do all this other stuff, but that's a conversation for another time.
Right.
I did have one important question I really wanted to ask you is what advice do you give to a new artist coming on this platform? Right? Because we've had this debate in spaces a lot about royalties for new artists. I know, or I don't know, actually, like I'm not even going to make that claim. There's artists that are getting not royalties, excuse me. They are getting a piece of the secondary market action. They're not getting a piece of the secondary market action on VeVe. What advice do you have for them? And like how to negotiate like with VeVe, maybe for people that are listening, maybe for Ali, maybe for Brian, I don't know.
How to negotiate with VeVe, I can't give advice on that. As far as that, so my technique, okay, I'm 60 years old, okay? I've always, been interested in, kind of, being involved in kind of what's happening right now, or maybe, and I've been a little early, I was too early on vinyl records. I had a vinyl-only label in the late 90s, early 2000s, which if I had done it 10 years later, I would have cleaned the fuck up. Right. So I'm always interested on the new thing that's going on, but I never stopped doing the old thing. So my approach has always been, because, I come from nothing, right? Many eggs, many baskets, whatever your hustle is, make sure you use it to have a couple other side hustles attached to your main hustle. So my thing is if all you care about is exquisite craftsmanship and total control over your product, okay, zero in and you're the guy that does the one thing. It's super risky. Me, I'm just interested in swimming around in all this weird shit because it's interesting, right? I don't have a vision other than I want to be there for the next thing, and I want to be somewhat valid in the next thing, because maybe I have an opinion about what that should be, right? So my experience as a creative is a little bit different, because I've always, in effect, I've removed my own ego from the situation. Like, I don't care if people recognize me or any of that kind of stuff. I like making a living, but I most likely just being there for what's going on, whether it be punk rock in 1980, right? Or uh, the psychedelic era of the late 80s, to the weird shit, the crazy, colorful early 90s, to the weird, the vinyl, like, designer toys emerging out of Japan. I was lucky I was there. I did my first vinyl toys like in the late 90s in Japan with the two original companies. Why? Because I was there doing silkscreen posters. So, like, even though I could have just been like, no, I'm the silkscreen guy, I was like, cool, I want to do a toy, right? So I've always been like, if anything, too prone to. I mean, I've had tons of stuff fail too, but every time I can even get next to like a new creative form, I will try to do it. I did MTV videos back in the day. Some of them were really big, right? Like, you know, but I didn't then go on to have a career there, because that came and went real fast. I was ready to jump ship to the next thing. So for me, I never get super focused on a piece or a project. To me, the whole now almost 40 years of this is the project. So I might have a different outlook than a lot of artists, because for me, it's not, I don't have the need, like, I want to be an artist. I need to have a show, and I need to stand in the middle of my show and have everybody know I'm an artist. That's like not my deal. My deal is like, I want to make weird looking shit that I would want to have myself. Like, a lot of my projects is just because I wanted one. And then it turned out other people wanted it too. So my the way I do it is, maybe, I mean, everyone's told me every step of the way I'm doing it wrong, but like, here I am literally 40 years later, and I have like someone my age buying my stuff, and I have their grandkids buying my stuff. And for me, I equate sales with success, because that's how our system works, right? Unless you're very wealthy or you have a patron, which I never had. So, that's my approach. Like, I just want to be part of what the fuck is going on. And right now, Web3 is fucking killing it. And I understand it. I can't code or whatever the fuck, but like, like, I know what it is. I've been reading about it for 50 years, in science fiction. So, like, I'm so ready for this and whatever the next thing might be. And I'll do whatever I can to do my little version of it. And, there I'll be, like, sitting there like Muad'Dib, you look in the hole, and the hole's looking back at you, kind of a thing, right? So there you have it.
That's awesome, Frank. Hey, Akil, you have a question as well, man. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I just wanted to get back to the wait. What did you just say? You just handed over that booklet of your worlds to VeVe already?
Yeah, when I first did my contractual signing with VeVe, I sent them about 91 gigs of finished files. They're sitting on my entire career. They've got it all on their servers. So it's up to them if and when they release anything. But it's, they have a lifetime of work to release. But in talking to them, I actually am doing new stuff just to suit. So as soon as I get the technical parameters of what they need from me file-wise, I'm going to start sending them backgrounds and assets for like my metaverse, etc. I'm planning out a story for Labbit, and hopefully Q1 Labbiter comes out. Labbiter has an enemy. There's these, there's baby, so, and that's just Labbits. Like, Labbit is like one of 100 characters I have. So there's plus all of my fine art and all of my. So they're sitting on, they could literally release everything I've ever made, and it would sell. So the release schedule's up to them. But the first thing I did is I sent them all the files, because we have a contract, so they're safe, right? So I could just sit here with my thumb up my ass and not do a fucking thing, and probably have VeVe releases forever if it goes right? But I'm not going to do that. I actually want to explore what they're doing and like see what I can do as they improve their technology and the shit that they can do with their digital collectibles.
Oh,
Awesome, man.
oh, Jesus, man. Why'd you do this to me? You just, man, now I got to go down this rabbit hole.
I mean,
Literally.
the big bummer is, like, I have all those famous concert posters. People pay up to $10,000 for a copy of an original poster, for like that fucking Soundgarden poster, for example, that I did. And of course, the first thing we all want to do was do those. But then the problem is like, some of that's found images that I collage, so there's a problem there, right, with copyright. And some of it, and also they all have bans on them. And like, while I kind of have the right to the design as a whole, and they're all legitimately done at the time, with bands or record labels or management, and everyone's square. Re-releasing those in digital format, they would have to hunt down some of those posters have 20 acts on them, most of them are long defunct. So there's no way to untangle all the legalities of the rock poster stuff. Because if they were doing my rock posters as fucking NFTs on there, forget about it, dude. I would sell so many fucking, copies of that shit, because a lot of people, like none of you probably, but there's a lot of people out there that really, really collect that shit. And so that's probably the one chunk of my stuff that won't ever happen as, digital collectibles / NFTs. And that's strictly because it's a gray area for copyright issues that I don't want to fuck with. I don't want to ever have some old band feel like I burned them, So that's kind of the one thing I'm not doing is my old music, all my old album covers and my old rock posters.
Right on, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that, Alpha. That's some knowledge right there.
I'm more excited about drawing these scary trees this week that will maybe someday go in my metaverse than I am about releasing that Soundgarden poster. So that shows you how kind of stupid I am.
Super excited, Frank. Super excited. Go ahead, Silicon.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, Frank, we had a guy in the audience when you guys were talking about, the worlds and stuff. And he it got real for him really quick. So, I mean, I think that our imaginations are taking over what you guys are going to create. And we're just excited to see what comes out. And, this digital side, really, I've always been into art and art that I like. But being able to collect it on VeVe and then being able to interact with it, and just with as NFTs, NFT art in general, it's been quite the experience. So I would call it a digital renaissance in some ways.
Dude, it's so fucking interesting. Also, it's I can just do it from the house, so that's kind of fantastic, right? I have my little spaceship studio here with all of my screens and all of my colored lights, and it's I just get to live in a weird fantasy world.
Hey, send us a picture of that. You should tweet a picture of your fantasy land, man. Frank, we want to see that, dude.
I'm telling you, man. If you want to have some hue lights, man, you put the hue lights in all your bulbs, and you can do all these color settings, and you can have whatever mood you want.
You, Brian, you and Sabet too, man. You should send us images of where the magic happens, man. We ain't talking about any other room but your art room.
It's just the room downstairs full of junk. But it worked, because that's the other thing I love about being the web being so robust is, for years to make my shit happen, I had to rent buildings and I had to have printing equipment and that gets expensive and it gets old. It's a lot of maintenance, right? To have to go downtown to a warehouse and all that shit. Anybody that's had a big sort of functional semi-manufacturing studio in the audience knows what I'm talking about. It's very fun and very romantic, but at the end of the day, it's really a grind and it's really expensive. And you're the one that has to mop the floor every week, and kind of all of that huge cumbersome apparatus is gone because it just kind of happens tonight through the phone, right? So I'm kind of digging this new thing, man.
It's absolutely amazing. I work out of my garage most of the time, which is where I also get to work on cars, and it just fuels to have a space that's your own and that's at home, that you're comfortable in, and that you can use in a multitude of ways. It's incredibly liberating as an artist. To your point,
dude,
to do this years ago, it would have been. Yeah, it would have been years ago. Yeah, you would have had to have all these facilities to produce it.
When I had the record label, I had all these employees, and we had, and I had a website day one, Alta Vista. I paid I don't know, $6,000 for them to run a fucking Twain line from the street junction into the building, so we could have an internet connection, and we had a website, and all. Back in '95, I had a website, and with rudimentary forms, and the amount of the expense and the effort, it was insane. Now it's just like whatever, like plug in the fucking thing in the wall, I turn the computer on, and it's like instant magic. I fucking love the future, man, as a creative. It's so easy now because I can spend all my time actually thinking about doing shit, and then doing it rather than like building an apparatus to try to do something and then being so burned out on the project I never end up using that piece of equipment. I mean, we've all been there, right, Brian? Right. So,
Oh my God, yeah. Well, and it's great too, like because you can. I mean, I hate to use the stereotypical like idea in the shower, but like literally, you could be making coffee, and that solution that you've been grasping for weeks, like just lands on your head, and you just turn around and execute on it. Like there's no commuting, there's no calling five people, there's no trying to get everything together. You just go and do it now, and that's just incredible.
yeah, I mean, I sort of the downstairs of my house is like my archive room and like my work room where I draw and do computer stuff. And then like I walk outside and I have a big garage space that I turn into like my machine shop. So if I need to make a physical thing, I can go out there and make it if I need, so it's like been able to condense it all down just through because of technology, and then like a Kid Robot, we did the same thing, like when I started running that company a few years ago, it's been like 8 years now. It was all old school. Like it was like tons of people, office cubicles. We had our own physical servers. It was just clunky and nothing worked. And so like, we were like outsourcing sculpting to China for wax sculptures or using like weird old sculpt dudes that were a pain in the ass. And so it's like, I just went through and like just got rid of all that. Like I hired our own digital sculptors. I put everything on the cloud. Everybody works remote. There's no overhead.
Well, but
We can all tell
we
what
talk.
everyone's doing, right? So I got
We
14
t-
people creating all day long from the comfort of their fucking homes. They're happy as pigs and shit. And it's like the company is prospering because like we adapted to the new technology that we're using right now.
I will say though, and we've talked about this before, but you did have that amazing studio space for years that, if anybody that followed you on social media was kind of, I mean, I was always in awe of, had all these flat files just full of, your archives, but then you had all these models you had built and it had amazing light and of course your cats. And it kind of had this, it was as much of part of your brand as your artwork was, that studio space. Like it was something to kind of behold.
Right. So those were the years when I was struggling to up my game. So like, Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff were just starting to happen. So it was really obvious to me that like, okay, I need to have like the appearance of like a really together representational space in San Francisco. It allowed me to raise my rates because people would research me online and they would see these photos of this super fancy studio in downtown San Francisco full of all this cool shit, most of which I never used. It was like, I'll be honest, like a lot of it was set dressing. It made me feel good too, like go somewhere and I felt special, right? I've got this big studio, I'm happening. But part of it also was part of what I talked about earlier, like having that persona, having that, because one thing I've never done is bought advertising. My whole career has been word of mouth or leveraging, in the old days, I would leveraging bands on tour and fax machines and like, small publications, right? All right. And then we transitioned to the internet. So studio space was fun, but at the end of the day, it was a lot of shit. It was expensive, right? I had to worry about security. I had to like clean it all the time, right? Shit piles up. So I mean, I do have a nice space, except now it's more integrated. Like because I don't really need that representational thing anymore. Like I have achieved a certain level of success, both like as an artist and a business person behind the scenes. So, but it's still nice, bro. I have a nice studio space. You'd love it. I have my garage. I got a mill out there and a lathe. I can build any part I want. But I walk through the double glass doors. I have a pool, so like I could just work on something, go for a swim, come back in, work some more. So for me, I'm like Picasso in the south of France now, although just in Marin or whatever.
That is pretty
So
cool, man.
so I've achieved my love because like when I'm at events, I'm hyper social. The rest of the time, I'm pretty like like I'm busy doing my shit, right? And I have a family. So, I have a wife, cats, a personal life that doesn't have much to do with my career. I found a lot of balance. But yeah, I mean, it was really awesome to have those studio spaces. And man, they look good in magazines, right? Like it looked fucking like $1 million, but usually it wasn't $1 million. But it did. The one crucial thing is, like, I made a calculated thing. I was a successful regional artist in Texas, and at some point, I'm like, I got to go to the big city. So I came to San Francisco, like right around whenever it was, like 92. Set up a big fancy space and raised my rates, and it worked. You know, like sort of like that sort of marketing ploy worked for me at the time. But after a while, you know, I would have honest discussions with my wife. It's like, do I want to spend $6,000 a month on a loft space downtown, or do I want to like have that be a mortgage for like a super nice house in the country? We went with the house in the country, right? At a certain point.
That's pretty cool, Frank. Hey, Sabet, tell us a little bit about your pad, man. Like, what's your environment like?
So we just moved to another house, but before it was a small space, small office for the design studio, and then my garage was my physical studio. The new house has given me a little bit more space for the digital studio, so I'm really enjoying having this. It's kind of like uh, it's like a bachelor pad within the house, for a lack of a better term. There's one, two, three, four, five, six. I'm surrounded by like six screens. One of them being my gym. I just got a tonal, so it's pretty cool. And then I finally bought my dream chair, which is the Eames chair that I could sit and do iPad work on while I watch TV. So it's been really cool. The past couple of years has been really about digital. And then right alongside, I have a two-car garage that uh, is also my studio, physical studio. The best part about this house is that it has two-car garages. So my wife gets a garage back finally, because I usually destroy the our garage and she can't even put anything in it. So she's stoked to have her own garage. But yeah, it's it's a very simple, but a lot bigger than last time, and I feel a little bit more free creating in here. Again, having like 7 or 8 projects in hand all the time, it makes sense to have my own space.
So I got to jump. I got to make a call, but I'll be back in like 20 minutes. If you're still here, I'll check back in.
Hey, that's awesome, Frank. For sure. Hey, Sabbath, I was going to tell you, I have the same stuff, man. Like, I have this massive, I have artwork all over the house, but I have my pad, which is like a game room. And I've got, all of the stuff that you guys are talking about, except that I don't make stuff. I collect your stuff, man. And it is piling up like you will not believe. But I'm on, and I use the same space for all my work calls, right? I work in private equity. And when I'm on these Zoom calls, I now have to use a background, because I've just got so much stuff that's unorganized at this point. It's unbelievable, man.
You're gonna need a storage unit soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a storage unit soon, man.
I have a storage unit just for the canvases, and I got to get them out. That's the issue of doing physical work, right? I mean, I have probably 100, 150 canvases that have had to be locked away because they take so much space in the house. So we finally put them a lot of it on the walls, and a friend of mine is holding them on his walls as well. But it's just, I want to create more, and I'm always wondering, where am I going to put all this stuff when it's done?
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I have my whole, upstairs of my house, like the attic in my house is walkable, and it's the whole house. So I'm thinking, I start air conditioning my attic, and it's like it's about 10 feet tall. It's like I'm thinking I should make that my second story and just build a bat cave in there and build like all my art stuff in there, and that becomes my special quiet private
Or a
place.
warehouse where you can actually, have events in.
Yeah,
That'd be kind of cool.
I'm quite the party planner, man.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool, having a warehouse with everything in glass.
Yep. Now you give me.
Can I ask you a question? How are you guys using like your ENS domains? Because I just had like an aha moment, like of when I heard you guys talk. I was just reading the comments below that Crypto Show put down there, and he said that he saw a NASA rover on one of the VeVe's, like I guess leaked or spoiler videos, and I know that NASA purchased the quad rocket emoji, like 4 rocket emojis, Dotties, from someone in the ENS community. I'm curious, how are you like, and that connection right there? Again, to be clear, that's speculation. I have no fucking clue. But I'm curious how are you using it, like if at all?
I'm just using it as an address, for people to send ETH or NFTs right now. But I know you guys probably are more knowledgeable, so I'll be looking to you to learn more about it later on.
No, man, I think that's the case itself right there. It's just the human readable address, right? Because if I think about everybody on the platform, I hear David say all the time, he wants like this app is going to be that, like, and Dan say all the time, like it's going to be almost like its own social media platform, right? Like it's like we want more interaction, and what's some easier interaction than creating your own like human readable address to have your wallet, right?
It,
Sanjay?
uh, Hey Dave, let's come back to the ENS. Actually, I think that's a great idea. We should probably just open up a space at some point.
Yep.
Focused on domain names and kind of and just dive deeper into that, and we'll bring people into that can drive that, Dave. And I'm more than happy to co-host or kind of join you on that. Hey, I know it's Chad. I'm really really sorry I missed. You're up here, man. It'd be great if you can bring up your points and ask questions or whatever you wanted to chat about. Sorry about that. Sorry to make you wait.
I'm going to jump real quick, and I might be back too. Thank you so much for the space, Sanjay, VeVe, and Silicon. You guys are amazing.
Yeah,
That's
appreciate
awesome,
it.
man. It's great to have you here, Sabet.
Thanks for jumping in, man.
Always amazing being here. See you guys soon.
It was awesome. Thank you.